What's going on, everybody? This is Nico and Dustin. We are gathered here today to talk about, and in my opinion, I think you'll agree, a slept-on horror movie. Like this one's getting
Yeah.
none of the press, like Maxine or something like Longlegs got. Like marketing drove Longlegs to like a record. I mean, it was Neon's biggest movie, and this movie just kind of slipped under the radars. Like I don't know about your theater, but I go to the AMC in Tallahassee. It got one like showtime a night for like 3 or 4 days. That's it. What about Regal? Before we just get into any
So
thoughts.
so the Regal that I went to, so there's four Regals in Knoxville that are available, and this one was only showing at one of them, which is the biggest theater in town. It's an 18 auditorium theater. But yeah, just one of them, and it was getting like two showtimes a day, so not much at all.
Wow. Wow. And yeah, the other two theaters in Tallahassee, Regal and CMX, weren't showing it at all, from what I can see on their app anyway. So this movie is definitely slept on. Before I get into any general thoughts, the only reason I'd heard of this is I'm pretty sure when we went to go see In a Violent Nature, since that was another IFC film, I'm pretty sure that's when I saw this trailer. And I thought, that looked pretty good. But I kind of forgot about it until I jumped on the old TikTok. And there's a guy, I don't follow him, but he pops up on my FYP a lot, named Kit Laser. I'm sure if you've seen him, you might know who I'm talking about. He's like, "Hey, this is a good horror movie that's not getting talked about." And I listened to his review, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that." So here, me and you are doing this instant reaction. Dustin, what'd you think? Oddity, because you saw it before me.
Yes, yeah, I did a couple days before. I didn't know really anything about it. I don't remember if I saw a trailer for when I went to see In a Violent Nature. I do know that when the day of, I remember you saying something about it, and so I was like, okay, I see it's playing. Yeah, I'll go check it out just for hashtag content. But I watched the trailer the day of when I went to see it, which was what is today? Does this? I
Thursday.
think I went to see it. What I go see it Monday? I think I went Monday. So I watched the trailer that day, and I was like, I mean, it doesn't. To steal a line from you, it doesn't set me on fire, but I'll check it out. I was pleasantly surprised. Like you said, this movie is slept on. I don't see nearly enough buzz for it considering the product we got. This movie to me delivered on uh, the thrills and the scares and the tension that Longlegs promised but underdelivered. So I was pleasantly surprised, to say the least.
Yeah, and I hate to get into that comparison thing, but I tend to agree with you. Just general thoughts, real quick. I went in with just tempered expectations. I think that has a big deal. Like that played a big deal in the viewing experience for me, as well as like my expectations for Long Legs was really really high. And this one I was just kind of going in blind, like you said, because I hadn't seen much about it. And I'm just gonna get into my positives now, dude. This movie was creepy. Like
Mm-hmm.
this movie was very creepy. Like you said in the TikTok video you made, the tension, the atmosphere, it was there. It was
Yeah.
like I hate to admit this as one of the hosts of this show and watched hundreds and hundreds of horror movies. I actually there were some scenes where I was like playing off like I was holding my hat bill so I could cover my eyes a little bit. I was scared, man. I was kind of scared. I'm not gonna lie, because whenever I go, me and you both go to the movies alone, and I always try and get a seat by myself just because I can't stand being with people who talk the whole time. So
Yeah.
I'm in row B, or yeah, row B by myself, right beside like the handicap seats. Like I got that seat. I was that guy. So I was all by myself on the right. Like I was scared, man. And they had some great jump scares. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll just call it the oddity, the wooden figure in it. That thing was scary, man. Like I know we'll get into some cons of it later on, but when that thing is just sitting there and it's just moving around, that thing is scary as hell. And I thought the acting was great from everybody for the most part. Uh, I'll just let you go as well. I don't want to steal all the thunder, but man, it delivered on atmosphere and scares, I think.
Yeah, I mean those two alone. This movie effectively used jump scares. There was a couple of times, like you want to. We haven't prefaced it either way, but let's just jump into a little bit of spoilers. We won't give the whole movie away, I guess. But there was there's a scene when someone is outside that tent. I know someone's outside there, but my
Scared the
God,
shit
when
out
we
of me.
saw it, it's like, oh shit. So,
Yeah.
and then you mentioned the wooden guy. Yeah, when it's sitting facing one direction and then the camera shows it and it's looking directly at you. It's like, oh shit! Like it got me, man. It got me. I
Yeah,
thought
same.
the uh, I thought the premise was good, solid, original. Definitely appreciated that. I think the acting was good, especially since I didn't recognize a single name from the cast. Not a single one. Do I think I've seen? I know that Ty. I don't know how to say his like first name. Tadgh or something. It's a very Irish name, but I know he's been in like the Northman and Vikings. Um, but I haven't seen those. I didn't recognize him from anything. But the cast delivered. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the tension that you wanted to get when you went and saw Long Legs. Some people got that. I've seen a lot of people say, "Yeah, it was Long Legs freaked me out." And I know what you said. We don't want to compare, but they're released at the same time. We've got to. You kind of have to. Um, it delivered. I was uneasy watching this movie, and there was some times where I won't say that I was ducking in my seat and scared necessarily, but the jump scares, like I jumped. I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I audibly
Mm,
said, "Oh shit" a couple times in that theater. So yeah, it
mm.
was a very effective horror movie, and hats off to all involved. I do have my cons that I'll get into in a minute, but that's a pretty good list of pros. That's a pretty good compliment.
Yeah, and we talk on this show a lot movies that, I've named movies like The Witch, Midsummer, The Shining, Autopsy of Jane Doe, for example. That just come right to my mind. Those movies didn't really scare me, but they unsettled me. Like they
Hmm.
put like a weird feeling in my gut. This movie didn't do that. It like genuinely like had me scared, like because I knew like the tension was just so thick in the atmosphere and the way like like the movie's really dark, but you can still see, and I appreciated that. Like we get a
Yeah,
lot of movies like where it's really really dark and you can't see anything, but this movie like the house is really dark they're in, and like just the whole setting itself was I like just I'm assuming this is like an Irish movie. I'm pretty sure it's an Irish horror movie,
yeah,
and like I like that it was different because we're used to our architecture and our lifestyle. It was nice to see something just different. I don't know. That's probably just a weird pro, but as just an American redneck, I like the stone house and all that. And
yeah.
another good
Oh, it was
jump scare, I
beautiful.
would say, another cool jump scare or scare, I would say, is like when they're looking into the camera and you can see like the faces in the background. That's just really easy way to creep you out. And
Hmm.
big shout out to Carolyn Bracken. I did not realize she played both sisters until I just looked at IMDb. Big shout out to her. That's
I'm glad you
awesome.
said that. I'm glad you said that because when you're watching it and she says, "Do I look stupid? Well, I look just like your wife. We're identical." In my mind, I was like, "Well, no, you're not. I mean, you look similar, but you're not. It's the same damn woman." So yeah, they did. I didn't realize that either. But I'm glad you brought up the architecture of the home. I have issues with it a little bit. Like this house is, it's completely enclosed. It goes there's a parking area or a yard area, whatever you want to call it, but the house goes all the way around. I wish they would explore the other parts of that structure more. It may have been just a
Mm.
garage. It looks like it was a bunch of garage doors on the all the way around, but I felt like that was untapped potential. Like you could have had something go on in any other wing of this house. I would have liked to see that, but other than that, I agree.
And I'm going to give the actress Carolyn Bracken more praise as Darcy. It gave me some Haunting of Hill House vibes with Theo. You know how like she could take her gloves off and touch items and touch things,
Hmm.
and she could see
The
things. I
dead
got an
zone.
instant call back to that. I thought that was really cool. That she's blind and she was the hero, but she was creepy herself. Like she's
Yep.
our protagonist, but she had a really creepy vibe to her, and I really liked it. Uh, and I like the way that the movie explained things that I kind of thought were dumb for at first. And I'll explain that. Like when you first see like Danny downstairs, wherever she's at in the tent, you're like, what the fuck are you doing in a tent downstairs by yourself for? Like, what are you doing? Like, this is just weird. But then you see she's like doing a vlog on her camera and all that, and she explains why. And I was like, okay, okay, that's fair. I take that criticism back. That's fair now.
Yeah, for sure. And another pro that I want to mention is, a lot of times, especially lately, it seems like I've been calling the twist early. I think this twist was pretty unpredictable because they had enough moving parts that all ended up working together. But as far as the motives, what actually happened to Danny, I didn't call that. I didn't. I thought it was just a home invasion, or I thought that maybe the escape or the guy from the mental ward, maybe he did kill her, or maybe it was something supernatural because something supernatural definitely is afoot here. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that they did a good job of throwing me off and keeping me off the track before when we actually figure out why she was murdered. I was like, oh shit, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I like that.
Yeah, and I definitely have a lot more pros than cons in this movie, but we got to keep it balanced. We got to talk about our cons as well. Do you want to kick us off with your cons, Dustin? I know you spoke about them in the TikTok video, but I'll let you go ahead and flesh it out a little more. And if you want to get into some spoilers, we can. We can mark it as minor or just spoil the whole movie. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think we've already mentioned a few spoils, but so yeah, I think we need to do that. But and honestly, I couldn't remember that instant reaction I did for TikTok was so fast. I did it so fast. It was such a short video. When I got done, I was like, "What did I actually say?" So I don't know if I said my cons on that or not. But the biggest con that I have is I don't feel like it was explained enough. And what I mean by that is I don't need you to hold my hand and walk me through every little detail. Some things it's okay to leave up for interpretation. But when you've got a family who has this gift, this supernatural gift, I'd like to know why. I'd like to know what's going on. What's the backstory there? Um, Also, I would like to have seen a little bit less of the big wooden guy. Looked phenomenal when he was stationary, but when he was moving, to me it looked like, oh, that's just a guy wearing a rubber suit that looks like it's made of wood. Like it didn't look good to me. And then the biggest one is at the very end. The last thing you see is this, zombie or ghost bellboy. I think he looked horrible. I think he looked very hokey, and I didn't like his look. I like the fact that he was there because it was something that was brought up earlier in the movie, and I'm fine with that callback. But just the look of it didn't hit for me. Go ahead and go, and I may think of a couple more.
No, I agree with everything you said. The wooden figure or whatever, it looked awesome when it was just sitting there moving around like slightly, but when it walked, it did look cheesy. Uh, a con that I had, and it might be minor, but Yana, why not just leave? Like, you've already said you want to go to your apartment in the city. I know you can't find your keys, but in your phone conversation with Ted, when you're talking to him, you said, "I'm thinking about calling a ride to pick me up." Dude, get the hell out of there. And I know that just ends the movie, and it takes away a few scares, but in the end, we're spoiling this. She doesn't get back with Ted anyways. She just leaves. Just leave the house. Like, she stayed way too long.
So I'll devil's advocate for that a little bit. Prior to her that phone conversation, I think that Darcy had said a few things to where maybe Yana would want to talk to her more, like when she's asking, "When did you start dating?" And
Mm-hmm.
she's mentioning stuff about her sister. Like I think that would have piqued my interest. Like, okay, what's going on here? What do you actually know? Is this something I need to know? Like your curiosity gets the best of you. But also the biggest thing is I don't know about you, but I don't like leaving people that I don't know in my house. So I think that had a little bit to do with it too, especially someone who seems to be weird and has a something off. There's something odd about her, but also she's very close to the situation. She's my boyfriend's sister-in-law. I guess they're still
Yeah.
sister-in-law because they didn't divorce. But you know, why? I don't know that I would trust her to be alone in my house, and so I think that may have played a little bit into it. But you're absolutely right. Things start happening. Fuck that. Let me call an Uber out here in the Irish
But
countryside.
I agree 100% with you. If it didn't have that fucking giant wooden creature, like this girl's blind. Like, how did this thing get out of that box and at the table? Like I'm getting out of there, man.
Especially,
I'm creeped out.
especially when she says, "Why'd you take him out of the box?" and she says, "I didn't." I'm
Dude,
like,
I'm out of there.
"Bye."
Yeah, it's like,
What do you mean you didn't? She didn't
yeah.
even
What do you
ask. What do
mean
you
by that, bro?
mean?
Yeah, no, but you're right. The conversations between the two were good. Like, I enjoyed that, and there were some really good jump scares. Like when the light just goes out on her in the bathroom, and what's her name? Darcy is still asleep. Who turned the light off? Like, that's a good scare. I
Mhm.
get that for sure. But I'm leaving, man. I'm freaked out.
So another, this is very minor nitpick. Like this would not bother probably anyone else. There was a scene where Yana goes to the bathroom downstairs, and she walks out, and she turns the bathroom light on, and then she turns it right back off. Like no reason. Like I was like, why'd you just turn the light on if you're just gonna turn it right back off? That bugged the piss out of me. It was so
Yeah.
small, but I guess OCD kicked in. I was like, why the fuck do you just flick that on and then back off? But I do like. I thought of another pro. I like. They kept showing, the patients at this psych ward. They kept showing the Hannibal Lecter esque guy from the back.
Hmm.
I like that they used him because it would have been easy just to you didn't have to because it does a good job of establishing that we're in a mental health facility. But then at the end when they showed him and Dr. Doofenshmirtz or whatever his name was, I can't remember, when he tightened the restraints on the bed, it's like, oh shit, he's about to sick the cannibal on him. And I think the reveal was the gun too. Like he just poked his head up at the end of the bed and bit his foot. Dude, this movie has so many pros.
Yeah, it's really good, man. It's not. It's definitely slept on. I'm picking it as soon as we can. Like, I guess going on my list for sure. But 2024 is kind of the year of like some like weird, and 2023 would talk to me, but there's a lot of toe sucking and feet biting. I don't know what's going on. You got to talk to me. Love lies bleeding. That was an egregious toe sucking. Love lies bleeding.
It's
We got the
it was.
cannibal eating folks' toe. Like this is some weird stuff going on.
It's all a plot by Master Shredder. He's recruiting for the Foot Clan. That's from the Ninja Turtles, Nico. I don't know if you're aware, but
I've seen it.
yeah,
I grew up
it's
on the
it's
Ninja
very
Turtles.
it's very
And
weird for sure.
and help me out here, brother, because me and you have talked about going to the theaters, and I don't know why, but as soon as you step in that those coordinates, like your bladder just gets 10 times weaker for some
Oh my
reason. I
god.
had to walk out and pee, and it wasn't even about this part, but I did walk out and pee at another time. But can you help me? You remember the scene like where the guy like gets up and he like hides under his bed and he sees the supernatural stuff. He sees the other patient or person's head blown up on the ground.
Hmm.
What happened there?
Well, Darcy said I killed him, and so I think
The patient, right?
yeah. So I
Olin
think that
Bull.
Darcy Olin Bull. So
Okay.
I think that Darcy used her big wood to go into the hospital and kill the guy because while he was hiding under the bed and everything, it sounded supernatural. It didn't sound like a person was out there. It sounded like you would imagine a big wooden person to sound like as they're lumbering through the halls of a hospital. And so, yeah, and so that's what I meant by I want some more backstory. Why can she just control this guy with her mind? And we are connected like the fucking Wonder Twins, and just send I really didn't like that, but
Yeah.
it didn't bother me to the point where it hindered my score or my opinion of the movie. It just really eats at me. How can she do this? Why can she do this?
Yeah. No, you're right. And like I think they explain how she can control it, but it doesn't explain like her powers and like how it came to be. Because she says that gift is like a 5 year anniversary thing from a witch or something. And then you see like Yana pulling like hair and
Right.
blood and pictures of him out of the back of its head. But how does Darcy know all this stuff? Like
Yeah,
how is she
exactly.
connected to these powers? I agree with that for sure. I think they explain how she can, but we don't know why she can. And I would like to know
Yeah.
more why, but maybe we're just being too critical and wanting to know too much. I don't know. But I do agree with that. I would like to know more
Yeah.
about her because she's blind and she like runs this like oddity shop. And if they would have gave 5 more minutes to flesh some stuff out, man, this would be pretty close to not having very many cons, to be honest with you, and
Yeah.
questions. Like long legs, I left like asking, like I felt like I knew less about it when I left the movie.
Yeah. Well, so I told you when you asked me, is it better than long legs? I said, maybe, yes, no, I don't know. Like, I gave long legs a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterbox. And on this one, I think I said on the TikTok, I'm 3.5 to 4 in that range, probably closer to 3.5, but maybe closer to 4. It's like splitting hairs. I'd like to watch them both again. They're unique and they're both good for different reasons.
Yeah.
Um, this one feels more like a horror movie. Long Legs feels more like true crime. Feels more like until that third act when we get the supernatural stuff. But this one has definitely got more suspense throughout than Long Legs did. Like this one's pretty much from start to finish suspense on top of you. So yeah, that's about where I am. It's about a 3.5, maybe a 4 out of 5. Damn good movie.
Yeah, and I'm invested in all of the characters. Like I'm intrigued with what's going on with all of them. Like, don't get me wrong, Micah Monroe was fantastic in Long Legs, but like her character was
Mhm.
kind of just, I don't know, weird. Like, I'm gonna go see Long Legs again tomorrow since I'm not working. Give it another chance because I feel like I'm being overly critical of it. I'm not doing that just to be cool or anything. I don't want to be that guy. But this movie, man, I don't know, man. It scared the shit out of me in some spots. Like the jump scares were great. Like the atmosphere was great. People walking,
Yeah.
like when Ivan's walking around the house and then the camera starts flashing. I thought that was brilliant. God, that was
Mhm.
good. That was James
Yeah.
Wan-ish, if you ask me. That was very. That's like something he would do in a movie. I like. It felt like a James Wan movie, kind of like
Yeah.
a
And
classic
that
Conjuring kind of movie.
it did, and that camera gave us one of the best jump scares of all when it's flashing going crazy, or when she's watching the video
In
on
the
the phone
corner.
of yeah, when she's watching the video of the doctor and what's his name, Timus, Dr. Timus and
Yeah.
Danny, and then she watches it again and it's Ghost Danny or Zombie Danny, whatever you want to call her in the video. I was like, oh shit! Like I
Yeah.
should have
Then
expected
like
it.
she's in the corner of the
And then
room or
she's in the
whatever, and she's like,
corner.
"Run!" Hell yeah,
Yeah.
that shit scared. That's the jump scare I was thinking of. Another one that scared the shit out of me.
Oh, but I'm glad that we went down that rabbit hole because that reminded me of another con that I have. So Darcy having these supernatural powers is one thing, and that's great. That's a great. But why is the house haunted? Like why did Yana see Danny's ghost? That had nothing to do with Darcy. So it's kind of like it gives House on Haunted Hill vibes to me as well when you got a lot of moving parts there that and not all of them make a lot of sense. But I forgive it because the sum of things are better than the individual parts.
No, that's a good point. Like, why is she seeing? No, that's a good point. Why is she seeing stuff? Is she just hanging around? I feel like I'm the Beetlejuice. I'm just hanging around. That's a good point, though. I don't feel like that's nitpicky either. I think that's a good question to ask. I didn't even think about that. Like, maybe Darcy had already gotten. No, I don't know.
Well,
Maybe.
and even in the open when Danny's there, she mentioned like some orbs, seeing orbs in some pictures, like alluding to the fact that this house may be haunted. So I think that needed to be established. Is this house haunted? Like, if you die in this house, do you stay in this house? Is that what's going on? Because if it is, cool, I can roll with that, no problem. But I
Yeah,
would like some explanation there.
yeah. I mean, I'm trying to explain in my mind like maybe Darcy had already gotten that glass eye, and maybe she'd seen some things and knew about Ted already. Another pro. I love the reveal of all the moving parts with Ted and Ivan and how Olin found out about it. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, yeah, that
That
was
wasn't
great.
supernatural. That was just, he's just right
Yeah,
place, right time.
it's it's a little convenient. Like I would think that if a doctor and his orderly are plotting murder, they wouldn't do it next to an air vent that you can hear through.
Yeah.
But I forgive it. Like it didn't bother me at all. Like, yeah, that's great.
And I like that the mental hospital was kind of a dump. Like it added to
Oh
some
yeah,
creepiness to it.
yeah,
Like Ireland, y'all need to invest some dollars into them building things. I mean, Jesus, come on now. I feel like I'm at a pretty good stopping point, Dustin. I don't know about you. I'll just give my
yeah.
final thoughts. I like this movie a lot. If I was going to ask you honestly, since me and you go see so many movies, maybe do a top five of the year so far. I feel like we got to do a top five, top 10 at the end of the year.
Okay.
This is high up on the list, man. This is probably top three for me with Maxine and Late Night with the Devil. I really
Hmm.
like this one. I do. As of right now, recording this, I like this better than Long Legs. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I do. It. I didn't feel let down. Like, and I was genuinely scared for 80% of the movie. Like once it got going,
Yep.
I was scared, and I like the
Yep.
twists and turns it took.
So I can't remember all the movies I've seen this year, but just off the top of my head on the ones you've seen, I would go Maxine's my favorite so far. I would have this second. I would have this second.
What
Late Night
about
with the Devil
Abigail?
third.
I know
Oh
you liked
shit, forgot
Abigail a
Abigail.
lot.
I'd have Abigail second because it was completely different. Like it's more fun. It's a funny movie, but I
Yeah.
had a lot more fun with it. But if you're just looking for a scary movie, this is top of the list. But just overall experience, I would go Maxine one, Abigail two, this one three, Late Night with the Devil four, and Longlegs would be 5, unfortunately. But that's not to say Longlegs was a bad movie. We both enjoyed at least parts of it.
Yeah, and I feel like us being critical of Longlegs means it's bad. It's not bad by any means. It's really
No,
well made and acted and all that good stuff. But it's
it's
a
a victim.
style and a yeah.
It's a victim of its own hype machine. I mean, they built that movie up way too much. If I went into Longlegs, how I went into Oddity, I may have a different outlook on it. I expected more. I didn't get it.
It's kind of like prime Alabama Nick Saban years. Like you got like we're going to win the national championship, but then you go like 11-1 and you win like the Cotton Bowl. You're like, yeah, you had a good season, but it's like it's not what we wanted. So we need
Yeah,
to fire the coach now. It was kind of one of those things.
yeah,
So yeah, 11-1's not bad. It just wasn't undefeated. But
for sure.
hey, I had a good time talking about Oddity. By the time y'all listen to this reaction, it's probably unfortunately be out of theaters. But if it's still in theaters, go see it. By God, this movie is great. I'll say it's great. I think it's great. I'm probably at the in the 8 range right now. I'm I'm
Yeah,
I'm high on this movie. But it depends on a rewatch, catch some things. Maybe it goes down a little bit, but it could go up too. I would like to see how the tension and all that holds up, like at home as well. Because
okay.
like I didn't see The Witch first in the theaters. I saw it at the house, and I felt unsettled big time. So I want to see how
Yeah,
this holds
same
up.
asshole.
Out. You're welcome. Any final thoughts, Dustin, before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'm in that 7 to 8 range as well, somewhere in there. Probably like it more on a second watch. This movie, like you said, unfortunately, is probably not going to be in the theater by the time you hear this. And hopefully, you haven't listened to this before you see it. We've said that 100 times, but regardless, support cinema. If this one's not out there, next time you see a horror movie that's playing that you haven't seen a ton of trailers for and you don't know much about, go see it because you might be surprised, like I was, like we were.
Absolutely. We appreciate y'all listening. Y'all have a good one.